Jay is, as I said, a biblical scholar.
We won't stop doing that. I just went 3 weeks ago when Terry Jones went and did his stunt there in Florida, burning the Quran. On that Friday after that, they went and killed 9 UN soldiers, not soldiers, 9 UN workers there in Afghanistan. 4 of them, which were Gurkha soldiers. I went up on the ladder that's next Sunday, and I held up the Quran, and I said, I want to talk to you Muslims. I want to ask you, why is it you kill people for burning this book? I said, why is it you were killing people that had nothing to do with the burning of this book? They were thousands of miles away. They didn't even know who Terry Jones was. Should you have killed those people? The Muslims in the audience said, yes, we must kill them. I said, why must you kill those people? I said, is everybody watching here? I said, right now, I've got this Quran right here. Can someone give me a lighter? What if I lit this Quran right now and burned it right in front of you? What would you do to me? He said, we will kill you, Mr. Smith. I said, will all of you kill me? Yes, we will kill you. Is there any Muslim here that will not kill me? Not one Muslim raised their hands. Now, I looked at the crowd. The crowd was huge by that time. We got it all on film. We filmed it because I wanted the people to see this. The crowd was huge by that time. We got it all on film. We filmed it because I wanted the people to see this. I said, can you see the problem here?
Just yesterday, in fact, I was at Speaker's Corner, and I got up there, and I don't know if you remember what happened on Friday. 9 UN soldiers were killed after some of the imams in the mosques there in Mazar-e-Sharif in Afghanistan remonstrated against Terry Jones, who had burned a Quran a week or two ago there in Florida. And crowds went on the rampage and killed 9 UN soldiers, wounded 11 others there in Mazar-e-Sharif. And these UN soldiers were from, 4 of them were from Nepal. They were Gurkhas. One was a Swedish. 2 of them were beheaded. And of course, I got up on the ladder and I wanted to bring this. And this is what we do at Speaker's Corner. I get up and I take what's in the news and then I bring it around to the gospel. And I just got up there and I just said, listen, you all have heard the news. You all heard what happened. What in the world has went wrong? And why are you Muslims killing people for your Quran? Why in the world did you kill 9 young men, or whatever their ages were? Why did you kill 9 men who had nothing to do with the burning of the Quran? That took place thousands of miles away over in Florida by a pastor who did something he shouldn't have done. Nonetheless, why do you kill people for doing this? And then I asked the question, do you burn your Qurans? Is there any evidence of you burning their Qurans? Now, in bringing that kind of thing up at Speaker's Corner gets a huge crowd. And I had a huge crowd yesterday. Hundreds were there. And the Muslims came all front and center, right in front of the ladder. So I turned to the Muslims and I said pointedly to them, do you burn your Qurans? And they said, absolutely not. We don't burn our Qurans. I said, well, have you looked at your traditions? And that's why I went. At a place like Speaker's Corner, you can then just open it up. And that's what happened yesterday. I just opened up to Al-Bukhari, chapter 6, verse 509, 510. And I just read it, how at the very beginning, Uthman had all the manuscripts burned. And then I said, since you burn your Quran, why in the world are you killing others for burning your Qurans? And then I asked, should those men have been killed? Should those 9 men have been killed, though they had nothing to do with the Quran? They didn't even know Terry Jones. They were thousands of miles away. And what was fascinating, Brian, as I said that, about 6 or 7 Muslims started raising their fists and yelling, yes, yes, Allahu Akbar. These men should be killed. So I said, do you all agree? All the Muslims, there may have been about 40 or 50 Muslims there. Do you all agree? And almost all of them said, yes, those men should be killed. So I turned to the crowd. The crowd was huge. And you could see the horror on the faces of the crowd. It was priceless from where I was standing to look out. And I just said, are you watching this? Are you looking at this? These are Muslims in the middle of London who believed those men should be killed, though they had nothing to do with the burning of the Quran. So I turned to the crowd and says, can you make sense of this? Can you see then this is what we have to fight against? This anger, visceral anger over someone burning a Quran, not even looking for the guilty party, or if anybody is even guiltier, nonetheless, they would kill anybody. And I said, why is it they should be killed? Because they weren't Muslim. Not even looking for the guilty party, or if anybody is even guiltier, nonetheless, they would kill anybody. And I said, why is it they should be killed? Because they weren't Muslim.
He claims the footage, the video, is on the internet. I've had a look, I can't find it. All I could find is some footage of him talking about the third caliph burning Quranic manuscripts. This is really odd, given the spectacular nature of his claims. He's claiming about 50 Muslims said it was okay to kill random people upon seeing some Christian missionary on TV burning copies of the Quran. He's also claiming that these same Muslims threatened to kill him if he tried to do the same. So if he's making it up, it's a smear against British Muslims. And you've got to keep in mind, posting that footage would be propaganda gold for him, his organisation and his missionary buddies. That footage would go viral. It would be a practical demonstration of his propaganda, his rhetoric. His rhetoric is, oh, Muslims are all these violent people, they want to kill non-Muslims, right? That would be a practical demonstration of that very propaganda that he's trying to instill into the hearts and minds of folk. Where's the footage? Where is it? You'd think that he'd have it on the internet at least. I can't find it. I mean, the guy has a reputation for dishonesty. Did he just make this up? He can quite easily disprove any suspicion of dishonesty on his part by just posting the footage. Send us the footage. The challenge has been set to provide us the footage. Give us the video. And if it turns out that this is the case, we have no qualms in educating and rebuking these Muslims in question. No qualms at all. But everybody can realize this. It seems really, really suspicious that this fella does not have this footage up, given the operation that he runs. And if you're a Muslim, don't take this type of thing lightly. This is a very serious matter. Don't dismiss it as some sort of standard Christian missionary propaganda. Don't do that. Don't do that. This bloke's audience will be jam-packed with Britain First, EDL, racist types and fundamentalist Christians who really don't like Islam and Muslims. These are demographics that have a scary and violent element to them. What do you think will happen when they are told that there's a lot of Muslims in London who think it's okay to go on a killing spree, killing random people upon seeing some Christian pastor burning a copy of the Quran on the TV? What do you think will happen? It's going to feed into this fear narrative, which will lead to Islamophobic cowards attacking more Muslim women and Muslim old men in Britain.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The question that many people ask us is, why did the third caliph of Islam, Uthman, why did he burn all of the Qurans of his reign and his empire? And this is viewed as being something sacrilegious, something that shows that there were Qurans that were somehow wrong. This is a cultural misunderstanding, because from the Islamic tradition, when you burn the Quran, you're not disrespecting it. In fact, this is the way to respectfully dispose of it. It's the exact opposite from the Western tradition. Our religion teaches us that when you have a copy of the Quran that is now used too much, it's worn, it's torn, you have to dispose of it, you don't just throw it in the trash. That's disrespectful. You disintegrate it. They didn't have paper shredders back then. So how would they disintegrate the Quran? Well, they would simply light a fire to it and burn it, because they didn't want people trampling on it. They didn't want people throwing it in the trash can. They wanted to get rid of the sacredness of the Quran in a manner that is not intentionally disrespectful. And this is a cultural difference. When Western traditions hear of burning books, they think of sacrilege, they think of angry mobs chanting. But the burning of the Quran is not done in that type of philosophy or mindset. The burning of the Quran was done to respectfully dispose of unofficial recensions of the Quran. In fact, what happened was, after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the Quran was compiled within 2 years after his death. And so the official compilation took place when every single one of the major companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, were still alive. But this official recension of the Quran was not made obligatory upon the entire caliphate, upon the entire Islamic nation. And people would simply copy with their own hands any copy that they had. And obviously human errors occurred. Obviously when you have 6th, 7th, 8th generation copyists, anybody at home who knows how to read and write is just copying the Quran, obviously errors are going to creep in, and there's no question that there were variances, spelling mistakes. Another problem that occurred at the time was that the script of the Arabic language had not yet been fully developed, and so one letter or one symbol could represent multiple letters. Yet another problem is that many of the people could not read and write proficiently. Yet another problem was that spelling had not yet been standardized. Even us here in America, if we read a book written 300 years ago, 200 years ago, we're going to find spelling differences. So you can imagine in a society that's very Bedouin in nature, very illiterate by and large, the religion is coming in, educating the people, you're going to get a lot of variations. And people began noticing this is just not right. But we have an official Quran, we have the official recension that was done by the first caliph. So the third caliph, Uthman, made a very simple decree. And he said, look, anybody who wants a copy of the Quran has to copy it directly from the master copy. And to facilitate this, Uthman made a number of master copies from the original one. And he sent one master copy to every major city in the Islamic province. And this master copy was kept in the Grand Mosque of the city. And from then on, anybody who wanted a Quran was free to go to the master copy and copy it directly from the original copy that was in the main mosque of the city. Therefore, when this was done, Uthman then said, anybody who has a private collection, anybody who has his own handwritten Quran that's 7th, 8th, 9th generation away, you need to dispose of it. And how is it disposed of? The way that you dispose of Qurans is you burn them. And so everybody, there was no hue and cry, everybody voluntarily agreed, this is a great idea. Why shouldn't we go directly to the source? Why shouldn't we go directly to the official Quran? And so everybody agreed, and therefore the people's Qurans were compiled by the authorities. They didn't go house to house searching for them. They didn't go confiscating. It was a voluntary move, and everybody agreed because it makes sense. Everybody understood the problem, that you're going to get scribal errors, you're going to get punctuation marks, you're going to get all of these problems unless you go directly to the original. So the Caliph Uthman standardized the copies of the Quran, and therefore from his time up until our time there has never been two copies of the Quran that are different even in one letter or one word. And this is because of the far-sightedness of the Caliph Uthman, and it's something that we're forever grateful for. And really Muslims are very humble and very proud and very grateful to God that they're the only religious group that can with so much authority say that their scriptures really have been preserved authentically as their Prophet intended them to be, in the language of their prophets. Hardly any other religion can say this. Even Judaism and Christianity, they're not really preserved in the language of their prophets. Within a few years after the death of the prophets, the Quran is the most protected of all scriptures. And in fact, we as Muslims believe that God in His divine wisdom and plan has protected the Quran from any type of alteration, from any type of deviation, from any type of miswriting, because the Quran tells us that God has revealed this Quran and He is going to protect it. And we believe that the Caliph Uthman's actions were actions that are very logical, very reasonable, and they ensured the protection of the actual script of the Quran.